Well, as you know, Salesforce is a great ecosystem and a tool that lets you manage any type of support process and case management workflow that you may encounter in any industry. But one needs to follow a certain structure and sequencing, particularly from this area right here, in order to set up an efficient support process. And that is one of my goals from this session, in which I'm hoping that some of these tips that I'm sharing can work as a guide to someone who's looking to set up her or his own case management workflow. So with that, let's jump right in. First, you need to focus in support settings, and that you can access, by the way, from here. And I'm going to focus actually on a few important ones. By the way, you should read the purpose and annotation that is available against each of these support settings. It's very helpful. So as an example, the first setting allows you to define the case default owner in case your assignment rule fails. And this can be a user or it can be a queue. Next, focus on this setting, and this user is actually listed in the case history related list when changes are made automatically in when you're executing assignment rules, escalation rules, and others. These are some of the templates, right? So we can just quickly glance through them. This one I think is pretty interesting. Early trigger enabled. Now, as you recall, and I have made a note here, that escalation rules are evaluated every 15 minutes from the time the escalation processing service starts. And obviously that depends on the server where your escalation service is located. So as an example, if server starts say 5 minutes after an hour, the service will escalate at 12:20. Now, if you turn or select early trigger, this essentially you are asking system to execute the trigger 15 minutes earlier in the cycle. That's all it means. Here, if you select enable suggested articles, you are able to view and find articles from within cases. Let's see, the others are pretty self-explanatory. These two, by the way, right here, this enables or allows you to convert questions into cases from within Chatter. Similarly, this option allows you to convert community questions into cases. And you can review the rest on your own, but those were a few that I thought are important ones. Next, you need to make a decision if you are allowing your customers and partners and community members to be able to create cases outside Salesforce. As an example, from your own website or from your communities. And if the answer is yes, you need to spend some time in setting up this self-service web to case right here, right? So you enable it, and then after enabling, you basically go to this HTML generator and select which of these fields would you want to be available in your page, right? And where. And after that, you basically generate your HTML, which you can embed or give it to your front-end developers and let them create a nice looking case entry page. Now this is where you need to make a decision on the types of cases you're planning to cater. As an example, you may have inquiry cases as well as product support cases, and if that's the case, you basically come to this area, support processes, and define those right here. I've already, as you can see, created inquiry and product support. And all you are doing is selecting the status pick list values. So for inquiry, obviously escalation does not apply, so I have removed that from the pick list value. And once you have defined your support processes, don't forget to define record types and then associate those record types with the support processes. And for doing that, you go to record types here. As you can see, I have defined two record types, one for inquiry. And by the way, you can again select your pick list values from here and then associate. And by the way, don't forget to do your page layout assignments and also go back to support processes and the associate that right here. If you do edit, see it says support process inquiry. Similarly, if you go back to excuse me, product support, I have assigned support process of type product support. Okay, and once you are done with that, and if you have assigned page layouts appropriately, as you can see, I have done it. In my case, I'm the system admin, and I have assigned for inquiries, I've assigned the layout of type case support, and for product support, I've assigned, I guess, mobile layout, just as an experiment. And once you do that, and if you go to cases and try to create a new case, now you need to select the type of case you are creating, and accordingly you get the appropriate page layout and other values, by the way, including the pick lists that you may have assigned to that record type. Okay, moving along, this is another important concept that you shouldn't forget, and in fact I would recommend that you always do this, because case team concept allows you to group people in certain group who can work together, right? And you can do that with your support staff, support managers, or product managers. And again, don't forget to add case teams as a related list in your page layout. So again, going back to one of my page layout here, as you can see, I have already moved case team as a related list in my page layout. Next, you need to spend a great deal, I would say a good deal of effort in reviewing the standard fields and the pick list values, and also creating custom fields. And you do that here. So don't forget to first review all the pick list values that come standard with Salesforce platform, and make sure that these pick list values do apply to your case. If not, feel free to change them. And you continue doing with other pick list values as well. Similarly, make a decision on which fields would you like to have added as custom fields. In my case, as an example, I have added a field called impacted area, and I'm trying to capture which area is getting impacted by this issue or case. And I have just given some sample values here: connectivity or application, or the issue is with the server or database, or if it's unknown, and so on. Also, in many cases, your case may be related with other case, right? Because maybe it's a duplicate case, or genuinely you want to relate a case with other, in which case you may want to create parent-child relationship between those two cases. Again, go back to page layout, and don't forget to move oh, actually it's not in related, but go to fields, and this is the field I was talking about. So you move parent case field from here to your page layout, so you can track that linkage. Again, for auditing and logging purposes, I think it's always good to track history, and that you can do from here, right? Which fields would you like to get tracked? So you can do that right here. Moving on. Now this is the crux of your I guess I've opened an old copy, but regardless, let's continue. This is where you define all the key workflow items by using assignment rules. Actually, let me open the there you go. This is my correct PDF. This is where you define the assignment rules, right? Which rules and criterion should be followed, and who to assign. And that you can do that, again going back to case, click on case assignment rules and define your own rule. I'm just going to click on an existing one, provide a good description, and make sure once you're ready to activate, click on this button. And here I have given 2 rule entries, right? So if the case type is mechanical and account is gold, type gold, right, and priority is high, assign that case to this queue, client services. And for rule number 2, assign the case to this user. And you can just take a look. It's pretty standard Salesforce rule entry. You select fields, operator, and the value, and this is where you can select the assignment, which can be a user, queue, or partner user. Okay, so that's how you define assignment rules. Moving on, for auto assign a response, right, to acknowledge that you have created case, you can go to auto response rules, and again in similar line you give some details, and don't forget to activate, create rule entries here. In my case, if case origin happens to be from email, assign the response, provide an auto response to the case creator, and use this email to respond from. Okay, and use this email template. And that's exactly I've listed as 3 important points here. Provide sender's email address, focus on your rule entries, and select an email template. Similarly, you do define your escalation rules, and this determines when a case should escalate and after what period of time and to who. And you can access these rules from here. Where did it go? Oh, there we go. Escalation rules. Again, follow the similar pattern. Create your rule entry and give them an order. And remember, these rule entries are evaluated in order, right? 1, 2, 3, and so on. And as an example here, for this rule entry, if account happens to be in US and it's a platinum account and case is of type high, after 2 hours escalate this case to this user using this template. Okay, moving on, this is one of the really handy feature of Salesforce, which allows you to create cases just by sending your issue to a certain email box. And here you can access this feature from email to case right here, and basically you can do some reading. On demand allows you to use Salesforce Apex email service, and if you decide to go with email to case, you need to basically download an agent. But the plus side is that you can use your existing emails and keep the emails behind your network firewall. So without going too much into details, let's just look at what's most important here. You need to create a routing address which allows you to create cases. In my case, I've created the sample email address, and now Salesforce has given me this routing address, email address. So if I send an email to this address, you should expect a case getting created with priority medium and of type inquiry. So let me quickly do that. If I compose a new email and say pump is not working since yesterday, and send this, let's hope that it does create a case automatically. Let's hope it comes through. Let me see, make sure the case it's in sent. Okay, it should come pretty quickly. Sometimes it takes a while, so let's move on while the case is coming through the pipe, through the cloud, right? Um, and let's move on to the next topic, case trigger. So you have seen you have a lot of flexibility to create your own workflow using assignment rules, auto response rules, escalation rules, and also which one of the topics that I haven't covered is the ability for you to define milestones and entitlements, which is a bit of an advanced topic, so I'm going to skip it, but you can read that on your own. Having said that, there are cases and use cases where you need to create your own custom logic, and this is where you can use Apex Trigger to fill that gap. I've taken two examples. One is that if you look at cases, right, and try to create a new case, as you can see, subject is an optional field, which is not really that good. So you can create a trigger to say, well, if somebody is creating a case without subject, make sure this code runs. And I have just already inputted this code, right? This is trigger name, subject, don't leave it blank, and what object, and run this before inserting the record. And for each case record being inserted, which is part of the trigger collection, if subject is null, give me this error, right? So with that, if I try to create a new case for this product, mechanical, and it's coming through phone, and I say, well, fix this problem, and try to save it. See, there you go, our trigger got executed. It says please provide subject line. Okay, similarly, I have created another trigger just to prove that point here. The other trigger is that actually this is quite handy, that many times folks, okay, let me go back here. By the way, a word about this trigger. Again, the name of this trigger, and I'm saying in case reason field is feedback. In other words, if your customers or partners are giving you feedback, I think they shouldn't choose priority to be high or critical, right? So if case happens to be just about feedback, assign low priority to that case, right? And again, run this before inserting that record. So just to see that, again, you can say, all right, product support, and I'm giving feedback to say, great work, thanks, and all I'm saying, oh, actually, yeah, and by mistake, I'm selecting this to be high priority, right? And I'm trying to save it. It will save, but as you can see, the actually, somehow it did not. Let me go back. Well, something is not right. Actually, that it should have converted to priority low based on this trigger, but I hope you get the point. Maybe I made a mistake somewhere, but oh, I forgot to choose that to be a feedback, right? So let's do that again. Let's create product support feedback and say this is simply feedback. Oops, I don't have a problem. Create work, thanks a ton, and by mistake I said, hey, it's high, critical, right? And then I try to save it. Then that trigger should change the priority from high to low. So that is another situation where you may want to have triggers, right? Now let's go back just to cover our bases. If this thing worked, email to case, yeah. So it finally arrived, right? Pump is not working, and this came from this email address, and I did not put whole lot, but you got the point. And here is the case. Pump is not working since yesterday. So these are some of the tips I wanted to cover. I hope this was somewhat useful, and if it was, please give me a thumbs up on this tutorial. And if you have concern or questions, or you just did not like it, please send me an email and I'll try to do a better job. With that, I'm signing off. Please take care. Thank you so much.